and we're going to make this recording available to everyone anyway. So, okay, well, thank you so much, everyone, for taking the time out to join us on the webinar. Typically, webinars are someone from Display Note talking or someone from the product side. But we're very lucky this month to have Rachel Prince join us. And Rachel is well, I'll let you introduce yourself, Rachel. Rachel, just to give you a bit of background, has been using our screen sharing software over the last 2-3 years and across all sorts of conditions and terrains, from in-class learning, hybrid learning, and hybrid being people at home, people rushing by in a car, wherever they can actually get access to a device. So rather than someone from Display Note talking about the software, I thought it'd be a great idea this month in our webinar to pass the floor to someone that uses the software way more than us and is able to share some of our knowledge around how to actually use screen sharing in the classroom. Yes, we all have a good idea of what it does, but how is it applicable? How can I use it? How can I use it to make the class more interactive? When to use it? Why you should use it? How to manage the class when everyone can screen share? And how could we do it for things like group presentations, and I guess any best practice we can gain from one-to-many or many-to-one sharing in a hybrid environment. So my name is Ed Morgan. Some of you have already met. I'm the CEO at Display Note, and I've been very lucky to work alongside Rachel over the last couple, a year and a half or so now, Rachel. So been really lucky. So that's me. I'm gonna pretty much just stand out of the way, and I'm gonna let Rachel introduce herself and start to get some of that knowledge across. So take it away.
All right. Hi, I'm Rachel Prince. Oh, let me join one more person here. I've been teaching 29 years, all here at the same school, Horizon High School. We are a middle-sized school, about 2,200 students. We have a range of different types of kids who all have a range of familiarity with technology. So what we discovered in April 2020, when everybody in education had their entire world flip upside down, we suddenly were at a loss for what do we do when kids are home. I mean, for all of you who are in education, you knew that it was like nothing we'd ever seen. We were all completely ill-equipped. I am a pen and paper gal. I have handouts. I have things that I do with kids in the room, and we all just sort of sat on our back patios going, how do I continue to reach kids? These fabulous new screens were put into our classrooms, and then of course all the kids went home, and we went, oh, well, that's a giant waste of money. What are we going to do with it? Then I began fiddling around with all the apps that came with it, and I discovered the Cast and the Broadcast. Called our IT guy and said, what are these? He said, play around with them, see what they do. I discovered Broadcast and went, well, there's a game changer. There's how I get kids at home to be able to see what I'm doing at school. We were still using things like the old overhead projectors with the clear glass. You'd stare into the bulb and blind yourself. And there were teachers just losing their minds trying to figure out, where do I put my camera so the kids can see here, but then there's a glare and they can't see it. It was just a hot mess before this. So Broadcast saved our lives when the kids all went home and we were teaching standing here in empty classrooms. Then, as I discovered Cast, which has now been turned into Montage, letting kids share from their homes onto the screen, and then combining that with Broadcast, where it didn't matter where anybody was, made all the difference in the world. So I'm the poster child for embracing this new technology. And I'm a bit of a dinosaur because I was not the first one to the technology game. I love all new tech, but I don't necessarily throw out what I'd done before to bring the new in. So this, I find, has been a fantastic blend of the two. I can provide handouts to any student who prefers paper, but I really can bypass all of that and use this to link everything wirelessly, paperlessly, and no matter where any student is. When they were all at home, it was absolutely vital. We absolutely had to have it. When we went hybrid, some students were home, some students were here. We had a really new reality of how do I bring these two kids together so that the kids who are staying at home don't feel completely left out. We don't want it to be, here's the cool kids club and we're all together in the room. And I guess you guys can listen in if you can happen to hear us. How do I make them all feel like they're in the room together? And Montage helped with that. And then even now, when most kids are back, I've been using it all week for things that my students are doing actually in the classroom, but then I can loop in students who are elsewhere. I have a student right now who's traveling in Spain for her college visits. She can join in no matter where she is. So even if, for the most part, you have them all together in the room, you can still bring in kids from elsewhere. So if it's okay, Ed, I'll just run through a few ideas that I had. Perfect. So this is what my screen looks like when I'm just blank screen. And I leave my Montage and my broadcast apps down in the corner. And then I can just hit those easily. I didn't want it cluttered up with other gadgets that I don't use all the time. So I could just go there. But for now, what I'd like to show you are just a few things that either can help you see how the whole thing works once you've got kids in, or things that I've used it for. And I can put these two or these three presentations as links when we send out the recording, or if you want to, when you go back and look at the presentation afterwards, all the things that show up here as tips and tricks and hints that you can use, those will be in the video. So this first one that I put together was just to show you how to kind of walk through how everything can look, what you'll see on the screen as you're flipping through. One thing I really like about these two apps is that they're so user-friendly. They're really intuitive. As soon as you look at the screen, you know exactly what to hit next. Nothing is, well, but if I hit that, will I end up in the wrong menu? Or how do I get there and then back up? It's really user-friendly. You can really tell what to do. This one worked well. I still do this today. With our giant classrooms, we can have a maximum of 42 kids in our classes. And next year, because we are getting staffed real tight, I will have 45 kids in a class. Some of those kids sitting in the back will simply not be able to see what I have on my screen. They've all got their own Chromebooks. I can broadcast, and a student who's sitting in the back of my room can see on her own computer what I'm doing up here. So rather than well, there's a tall boy in front of me, or I forgot my glasses, it's no problem. Just open up your computer and you can see exactly what I have up here. That can be used no matter where students are. What's also fantastic is that if they have forgotten their computer, or as kids, they'll charge their phones every night without fail, but gosh, they sure did forget to charge their school computer. I'm like, it doesn't matter. You can do this on your phone. I'm like, great. So, but that works well too, because you don't have to rely on the hardware. That was another thing that really was frustrating before all this is, I mean, I've got the meeting running on a Mac. I've got this running on a Chrome over there. Everyone has had that terrible dongle battle of you want to use something, but you don't have the right connector, or someone says, oh, that doesn't run on my machine. All of that works with broadcast. It doesn't matter what operating system, doesn't matter what kind of device you have, because it's running as an app, not something on the device itself. It always works, always works. That's been also something funny with the reluctant student who wants to say, that just doesn't work on my, yes, it does. I know it does. It works on everything. So this is what you see when kids, when you want to broadcast to kids, and then you're off to the races. You just close out the window, and then whatever you do on your screen shows up on their screen. We found that we were using this a lot more with our quarantine students after we all came back, because as you all know, in your industries or in your own classrooms, they're at the mercy of, my mom was with someone who tested positive, so now I need to stay home for 2 weeks. And we had kids in tears because they didn't know how they were going to stay caught up. For a lot of our math classes, our world language classes, where every day is live instruction, it didn't matter to say, well, we can make everything up when you get back, because teachers were saying, I need her to be able to watch the lesson as I'm doing it, because 2 weeks lost of instruction is devastating. And how do we ever get you caught up? So this was a game changer for our quarantine kids. We also discovered it can work really well if you want to show off a lesson that you're doing, but your administrator is way too busy to be able to come around to all the classrooms to see what's going on. If you're running a meet anyway, just send the broadcast code to your principal and they can be up in their office and they can still see what you're doing on your screen. We've also discovered that it works really well with mentoring your younger teachers who want to see more classrooms. What do people do in classrooms? Or let's say I've been teaching a certain course for 20 years and we've got a new teacher who's never taught that course before. They'd like to sort of test drive, how do you run that lesson on Hamlet? Or what is your lesson on semicolons? You can give them the code on their prep hour. They can watch and see how the whole lesson works. So it's great for simply networking amongst the adults in your room. You can even send it up to the district level if you've got teachers or principals up at the head shed and you'd like them to see something fantastic that you're doing. So works really, really well for that. So that's the broadcast part, but then getting into the having students share to your screen. I've been doing this all week with my seminar and my research kids because of individual projects that they're doing. So Montage is them sharing to you, broadcast is you sharing to them. You can run the two simultaneously. And I used that last year when we had these really big group projects and kids at home had to be able to be part of a group when half of them were here. Honestly, it wouldn't have worked. There would have been no way to have done it if I didn't have something like this to bring those two groups together. So for Montage, let's say you've got in a math class, kids are working a problem on their own. What frustrates a lot of students is being able to get their head around there is more than one way to work this problem. If you could get kids to cast their work up to the screen, they can see side by side with other kids or side by side with yours. Here's one way to work the problem and get the right answer. And now look, here's what Billy did. Here's a different way to work the problem and get the right answer. When they can see what other kids are doing, that visual, either the confirmation that it looks different, but both of you are correct, that's great. Or if you have a student who you want to say, look how much more easily you can figure this out if you line it up the way Billy did here. Rather than the old days of, okay, let me walk around the room and grab Billy's paper and hold it up. Can you guys all see what Billy did here? Up on the screen is infinitely easier. And then of course your students at home can see that as well. In English, I just did this for practicing writing interpretive claims, and I wanted them to see, here's what other kids came up with. So I gave the prompt, they all wrote on their own. They then share up to the screen and they can see side by side, oh, here's what other people did with the exact same information that I had. Works beautifully. For research, I had kids just yesterday, we were looking at how to visualize data. If I give you a statistic just written out as text, it's super boring. So everybody, you have 10 minutes in your groups, create a slide of some sort of visual representation of this one statistic. And I gave them something like the average American throws away 4.5 pounds of garbage every day. I said, okay, there's a piece of data. Now make that visual, do whatever you want. And then you all share at the same time. And then they can see side by side what kids did differently. And that gives them a great visual of, oh, look what happens, kiddos. If you put red text on a blue background, look what it looks like. Oh, look at this one. Their font is big enough that you can see it from the back. So just the side-by-side comparison works really, really well.
Rachel.
Yes.
Just to jump in on that point, you've pointed out that the different groups are sharing, and it's a way to share and compare, and there's maybe some aha moments for some of the students. How do you use that moment as a teacher when you find that Billy has actually seen something different and has a new way of thinking? Is that a prompt for you to get in and get involved, or what's your role then when that happens?
Well, on the one hand, if I see that one student has done something that is incorrect or wrong or is not going to work out well, what usually happens with the kids is if you've created a dynamic where that group editing process or that group sharing process, we can say, all right, so kiddos, let's take a look here. What would we advise Billy to do if he's discovered, oh, hang on, these three did this and I did this? That's part of what your grace as a teacher has probably led you to be doing with your classroom already, of rather than, oh, look, we're going to publicly shame this kid. You did it differently than everybody else. The kid goes, oh, I see, how mine isn't the same. Or, oh, look, I can see how I can compare mine with theirs. Or if Billy is the rock star and he's the one who found the one thing the other three didn't get, simply having them next to each other. I could also cast my own screen up. If I've done the prompt ahead of time, I can plug mine in and go, all right, so here's 3 of what you guys did. Now here's something I put up. Let's do some comparison. And then it's just like what a teacher would do in a normal case of let them come up with where you wanted them to get in the end anyway, as teachers do with discussion. If that answers your question. So, oh, good. So this one, again, super easy. I did discover that you have to run your class through it one time on a day before you're ready to do the whole lesson, because bless their hearts, they could take a brand new iPhone 13 out of the box and in 15 seconds, I'm set, I've got it personalized, I know what to do. But when you show them something new with technology at school, sometimes they're like, wait, what? Okay, we're gonna run through it one time. I have them bookmark displaynote.com/join on their Chromebooks. So everybody put this up here in your toolbar, and that way it'll take you right to the app. And then they know the session ID. So you just run them through one time to understand exactly what they'll need to do. And then it goes like clockwork. This is what they see. I have them connect via the web. They don't need to download an app. They just connect through the web. Then you see that kids are waiting for connections. Then you invite them to present. This is the next thing that I really love about Montage, is that unless someone's figured it out and I can't catch them yet, I have never found a way that a kid can hijack your presentation and get in there without you specifically inviting them. That was one of the things that we were frustrated with Google Meet, is that a kid could join a meeting without the facilitator's knowledge. So at the beginning of distance learning, oh my goodness, we had kids showing up, we had adults showing up, we had complete strangers showing up. There was some horrible situation that happened somewhere with an inappropriate thing that happened in a classroom. This is absolutely, as far as I've noticed, completely safe. Until I tap on a kid to invite him to present, he can't get in. If you have a little bit of a squirrely class, you have to let them know ahead of time. If you put in a silly name, I will exit you out and you won't be in. But again, that's that teacher-student camaraderie that you've built already. But I think it's fantastic. So they just choose what they want to share. You touch their name to invite them. Now, if you have a kid who is ding-donging around and you discover, oh, hey, you had something up there that you shouldn't have, you simply touch the student name, you uninvite them, it exits them out, and they cannot rejoin. So they can't keep trying to get in. And then, of course, there's your teachable moment later with your student of having that discussion. But it's nothing that we haven't dealt with before of any kid who's ever doing something that they're not supposed to do.
And just again, another prompt for a question. Obviously, there's the technology element from screen sharing software that may or may not allow you to have the control over who shares or not. Is there anything you bring to the table as a human that will help you manage that class? If everyone can share up, then what are some of the tactics for other teachers out there who may have screen sharing technology, it may be Montage, it may be other solutions, things that you could impart to them to, even though you've got this technology, here are some tips in terms of the management.
I've usually discovered that you start firm and then you ease up. I have always, at the beginning of a class at the school year when I don't know them very well yet, and I don't know who might be mischievous, and I don't know who might be going for the cheap laugh of trying to do something they're not supposed to do up on the screen. You simply have high stakes at the beginning of the year of this is for points. They tend to really, that's where they live, is if it's worth a grade, if they lose points for something. You can also let them know that Google Meets are as a teacher, and unless districts have different policies, you can record your meets. Those I've heard from teachers have been extraordinarily beneficial when they have to have a conversation with a parent of, let me show you what happened in class that, you know, little Billy decided to do. And parents are very much on your side there because they live in the world of digital meetings now as well. And they know that, you know, there's no time for nonsense like that. So points always works, and simply setting your high standards at the beginning of the year of, this is what we're using, this is how class is going to run. If you show that that is something that you cannot do, then you won't be invited to the meetings, and you'll simply have to sit in the back with paper and pen, and you can do it that way. And it's again that classroom management that most teachers have figured out how to deal with the kid who doesn't want to do what he's supposed to do. But at least with this one, you can instantly pull them out of the meeting and they can't show something that they ought not be. So this is what it looks like when a student is showing his screen. 4 kids can be in the queue at a time. If the queue is filled, then they simply get a message on their machine that says the session is full. You just tell them, hang tight. As soon as, so Justin is sharing now, as soon as Justin is finished, he exits, and then it makes room for one more person. You get a pop-up that invites the next person in, and so forth. Extra benefits that I've noticed with the Montage, a lot of students are very, they'll zone out if they don't think they're going to get called on. If you tell everybody, here's the deal, you're ready to share. I say, all right, Brittany, you're up. You're sharing next. You have to be on your game. You can't be caught flat-footed. And then Tracy, you'll be after this. Then John, you'll be after this. Students can be more motivated when they know at any given moment you're going to be called to share your screen. I've also found it really nice for the shy kid, that quiet kid who he would probably say, I've had this student before, I'll take a 0 rather than walk up to the board and work a problem. I don't know if you all remember the old days when it was, hey, Rachel, you're going to come up and work this algebra problem in front of the class. And I wanted to die. Standing up there in this dead silence, and you're in front of the whole room, and you don't know if you're doing it right. It's mortifying to our more introverted or less confident students. It's much less high pressure if they can stay safely, comfortably at their desk. They don't feel as though they're on stage in front of everyone, and they can cast that way. Rather than also the old days of having one student work a problem on the board, you've got 6-7 minutes of absolute dead time in class that you can't do anything. So I've found that it really is helpful for our quieter students, lets them have a chance to participate. Also for our hot dogs. Sometimes you get those Hermione Grangers who you're like, me. Yes, everybody gets a chance to share. It's not just your really outspoken kids who always want the spotlight, but sometimes your quieter kids can join in as well. And of course, much, much quicker. I've been doing this with my AP research kids because they have their huge presentations and they need to know what things are going to look like on the screen before they share. They have to run through my Mac to be able to fit with College Board's requirements of when they can work on the presentation. They have Chromebooks. The colors are not always the same. So this way we can practice ahead of time of, all right, what color pattern did you pick? And does that fit on the screen with a different resolution than you thought? So we spend weeks before their high stakes, completely for all the marbles presentations, and they practice. Oh, I thought that was going to be blue, but it looks gray. Let me change that. Or, all right, let's take a look, kiddos. This actually is a terrible slide to use for a big presentation because it's really a dense wall of text, and kids say, oh, I see now what you mean when you say that's not as visually exciting as something with images. So it gives them a chance to run through things. So I like that quite a bit. It also works really, really well for your time with other adults. We've had so many meetings where a guest comes in from the district and they say, oh, I need to show your department something. I'll bring my computer. Can I connect to your screen? And then you've got the dongle issue and, oh, I can't get the Wi-Fi from here. This eliminates all of that. It is so much quicker. Nobody has to worry about bringing the right dongle. No one has to worry about connecting, or I don't have a port, or can I just have your password? No. So this way, hey, just use Montage. You can cast to the screen and everything is great. If you suddenly find that you even forgot to charge your own machine. I have run lessons before from my own phone because I have it on my drive. So that works beautifully. And you can run, of course, broadcast at the same time so that kids off-site. This worked last year for my AP seminar students because one of the College Board required components is a team presentation. And we have kids at home, kids at school, and they could both log into the meeting. They could both share from their screen. And so in the room, I had kids on a screen, kids here, and they just took turns casting back and forth, and it worked like a dream. It was absolutely magnificent. So that would have been absolutely impossible with all this. So that kind of runs you through all the ways that I've used it. I've discovered more chances every day of something new that I can do. I did a fun activity with the kids doing something with Legos at their desk. And I said, ready, grab your phones, take a picture of what you made. That goes to the screen. And now they're showing side by side. So it's been an absolute complete game changer for me. And I didn't think I would be the one embracing technology, but it really has saved me completely.
And do you, Rachel, do you plan lessons with screen sharing in mind, if that's an opportunity, or is it, no, actually, I know it's there, I can use it whenever I want to, or is it a hybrid of both?
I do both. There are some things I'm planning ahead of time of, what will work great is if they can all see side by side. As my seminar kids are learning how to embed quotes into their own prose, they don't instinctively understand how to do that. And trying to explain verbally, okay, kiddos, it has to be your words and then quotation marks. And then when they can see it, it's so much better. So I planned ahead of time for that one. I need them to put what they have up on the screen. We did side by side. And pretty soon they were clamoring for a turn to get their work up there, because then they can go, oh, wait. Okay, well, how's mine? How is mine? Kids are very, these days, they need reassurance that what they're doing is the right way. And they begin to embrace the idea of having crowdsourcing for, tell me how to fix this so I don't turn it in wrong. So I planned that one ahead of time. But then every once in a while, there's something we were doing, like yesterday with the visualization of data. That happened on the fly. And I went, ooh, what would be great? Show us what you have. So it's a hybrid of both. And I think that's another thing that's so nice about the program, is that once you realize how easy it is to get kids to just fire up your computer, put them all up there. I'm trying to show you one that has the whole grid of everybody. There's everybody up there. Once you realize how quick it is, it takes you 90 seconds to get a thing up, get the code out. So you can either plan it ahead of time or just as something comes up, it would be great. Let's all take a look at what everyone has at the same time, and then it works beautifully.
For those that don't know, Montage, what we're looking at here is, I guess, 4 different devices streaming at the same time. Is that right?
Yes. So I had 4 kids put up. I said, just because I need an image of what it looks like when there are 4 screens, I said, get to one of your assignments and pull that up. So he's got an AP US history paper. He's got a presentation that he had done. This guy's got his plan for his project, and she's got her Google Classroom up. But this way, you see all 4 kids. Each kid, I can hit the expand, and I can pop one kid out to show the whole thing. So we can say, all right, everyone, here's 4 side by side, but let's take a look at Kristen's. So I can open hers up big, and then I can condense it back down, then go to Mackenzie's. And as soon as one is done, they exit the screen, and then I get an invitation. Now let Becky in. Great, here comes Becky. And it just keeps repopulating, keep filling that queue. Works beautifully.
Good. Just conscious of time, maybe now might be a good moment to pass the baton to some of our attendees. They may be at the stage of, I'm looking at screen sharing, I use screen sharing, we've just started to use it, or how could we use it more? Any comments, any questions from any of our listeners, any of our viewers on, and that they could put to Rachel that you may be able to help them out with? And I guess that's opening up to anyone that's joined. If you put any questions, just put them in. I think we're a small group, so you could call them out verbally, or if you want to type them, I'll pick them up.
See, this is what teaching on a grid is like, is no one has a
Yeah.
I have a quick just comment / question. I think I know the answer, but when you broadcast your screen as a teacher, it also broadcasts your audio, correct? So
Yes.
Okay.
No. The only thing that I need to do is I have a Google Meet going. So I have this running. It's only getting whatever's on my screen. If you need my audio, you have to do what I'm doing right now of running a Meet separately so that kids can hear you. But you don't have to do a Google Meet where they can see you. If that's not what's important, you can just say, I'm going to open a Meet so you can hear me at home, kiddos. But you don't need to see me specifically. You just need to see what I have on my screen. If you're a math teacher and you're working problems on your screen, or you're a science teacher, you're showing information, all the student has to do is be able to hear your voice and see your screen. So you don't need to worry about setting your Google Meet or whatever program you use for your students. That can be off to the side somewhere as long as they can hear you. If that's something. And some schools are offering microphones. We had that for a while where you can wear a microphone, your computer can be clear over at your desk, and then kids can see. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I had a teacher just ask me, she was trying to like display stuff from the back of her room. And she was wanting to play music, and I just didn't know if the source came from the new line board or if it came from her teacher computer at that point.
Teacher computer. Yeah. I think also Ed had said they're working on, I don't have to tap the screen to invite a student to share. I can do that from a remote from the back of the room. I think that's in the works.
That's correct.
So that'll be.
Any other questions from any of our viewers? Again, now is the chance to ask who's always clearly an expert. No, I think you've done a great job, Rachel. So that's a sense of shyness, or I think there are no questions. All is clear. We will be sending out a recording of the session to everyone attended. We'll also be adding just links for Montage and broadcast. If you don't know the software, you can check them out. I just want to, I guess, say thank you to you, Rachel, for a very insightful session. I picked up a lot of good tips actually on using screen sharing and when to use it, and some nice stuff there on a kind of aha moment of share and compare when that could be used. So that, I thought that was really useful. And if anyone's got any questions that they think of after the session, feel free to drop me a line or drop Display another line. And just thank you, Rachel, from myself and all the team Display.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for having me. And of course, if you want to give out my contact information, I'm happy to answer questions you might have.
Yeah, I can put that into the follow-up email.
Fabulous. Well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, and have a great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care. All right, well, I'll end the recording.